Good morning. Okay. Okay, great. Good morning and welcome. I'm Srinivasa Bharathy, and it's a sense of, I think, great happiness to actually view a full house. Thanks for taking the time out, all of you. How many of you? I know most of you registered online, and I think there were some questions around what is F6. I think Saurabh kind of gave us some clues of F6. How many of you got it right? Did anybody try the gamification that was done in the invite itself? Some of you did. Okay, so the idea was to actually kind of create a sense of direction around the F6 principles that we used when we designed this new Max suite. So what I'm going to take you through today in two sessions. The first part of it is about the solution itself, and the second part is what we call the A-team. I think that's something that's going to pique your curiosity about what the A-team is and what they do. In the first part, I'm going to cover in two parts. That is, one is what you will see here is a journey of an employee, a candidate, who's actually going to go through the sequence of becoming an employee, being a candidate, becoming an employee, what he does during the journey of being an employee. How does he actually get treated as talent? And then how do we actually take some of those easier journeys in the system, right? And it's not going to be a demo session. Please don't think it's a demo session. It's more about an emotional connect with that personas that Arun had spoken about earlier, and then we're connecting the dots with what the science and the principles of F6 that Saurabh was mentioning a bit earlier. So can we start? So the idea was, like I was mentioning to Saurabh that day, is when we started this whole exercise last year, we said, can we reimagine the experience of an employee in the using a system? So HR systems are generally known as drab systems. Do you really want to go and log in there and find out what you want to do? Or don't you want routine tasks to be handled by somebody else rather than me? Is the general feeling, right? So the idea was, how do we actually look at creating an experience for a person who would actually want to go through this journey? So one of the things that we thought we should do is also give the power to our customers and partners to design what they think is possible for them and what would they think would be an experience their employees would prefer when they want to actually use the new platform, right? So we call this unlimited possibilities, and it can be designed by you. So while we have designed a lot of things inside the suite, we also think there are lots of things that you would see, that you would feel that's something that is contextual for you and would be would be useful for you to build as you go along. So of course, on the screens on the side, our product team, I think I should mention Sai and Hemraj, both of them from the product innovation team are here, and they would be helping me with showcasing some of the actual product screens on the side. So you'll see the two screens on the side and the presentation together. So if I'm going too fast, please do raise your hand. I can slow down. If I'm too slow, I think please bear with me. And so one of the things you would have seen is very easy switching between English and Arabic that we showcased just now. And that's how simple it is for somebody to toggle between languages. So that's the first thing that you would have seen. So again, it's something that's come out of a lot of discussions, dialogues that have happened with all of you, and thank you for that. And the extensive dialogues that you've had with our teams in the region, we have listened to them. We have actually actioned them, and we are in the journey to obviously improve upon that as we speak to you continuously. So keep the dialogue going, and thank you for that. Till now, we hope we will continue to collaborate with you and partner with you in taking this experience further. Coming to what that infinity symbol meant is also how we have built this whole ecosystem. So what we are calling ourselves now, and we think we want to be, is your talent transformation partner. So the team that is out here is not just Adrenalin. It obviously involves you. It involves our own partners. You have Microsoft, the technology partner. We have Authbridge, who's actually providing authentication, real-time authentication and background verification kind of services. Vantage Circle, which helps us with the rewards recognition, Vantage Fit, Vantage Pulse, etc. And we have the other personas here. So I'm actually going to kind of make it a bit more interactive as we go along and see how all of us can guess some of these personas. So you see about 6 personas here, including the bot on the top. So she is also a persona, by the way. So there are 6 people here, and then there are the applications that are there. And all these 6 faces that we see are actually not really people. They are parts of our platform that's actually enabling all these applications on the side. So that's the idea behind what we will go through in the next hour or so. So while we look at the possibilities by using all of these, which is what you see in the center, the infinite symbol, are the personas who are actually reflecting some of the parts of these platform, right? By using them, like I think Saurav mentioned about the Lego blocks, right? So by actually using them effectively, using them creatively, one can actually design their own experiences as we go into the next generation of creating an employee experience of the future. So that's the introduction. I'll kind of dive into the more interesting aspects as we go. What I'm going to do is to kind of take my story over 4 key journeys, what we call as 4 different experiences that actually can create the overall experience for an employee, right? It starts off being a candidate. The candidate experience becomes an employee. Then you have an experience as an employee. On an employee, over a period of time, we would like to treat them as talent. How do we design this person's experience as that person actually is in the organization, right? Obviously, retention of people today is important. While in some of the industries, we see attrition levels going, skill levels becoming irrelevant. I was talking to Hamid just a while ago, and we were talking about what kind of reskilling, what kind of skill sets would be needed in the future, and how do we actually nurture this talent? How do we develop this talent over a period of time? And what kind of information, what kind of data is needed for the organization, which is what I'm coming to as the data experience, for us to manage this. As HR leaders, as IT leaders, and as management people who are sitting here, I think that becomes very relevant for us, because using that is what we have to provide the experience for the rest of the organization. So what I'm going to do is going to walk us through these 4 experiences, which together we think is how we can design a complete experience. There could be many more experiences that will come up. We have some thoughts, but I think at this point in time, we think these are the 4 key experiences that we can go after. So let's start with candidate experience. I'm again introducing the personas here. We have a prospective candidate who's looking for a job, Fahad. And we have somebody at the back end, Julia, who's an ACE recruiter. And then Actually, they created this fellow, CEO. Doesn't look like me, but I said, okay, maybe it is, yeah? New generation CEO. Okay, so that fellow looks too geeky for me. So let's walk through what Fahad's experience is using the Adrenalin platform, right? So as a lot of candidates do, Fahad is actually searching the LinkedIn posts. He's kind of found something interesting, right? And he lands on the candidate application microsite. So that's how easy he would actually come in here. So there is a microsite that's integrated, obviously, with LinkedIn, and he's coming from there directly into the microsite, browsing the site for the job that he wanted to apply for. He actually then could quickly understand what the organization is about, what their background is, looks at the company website. He gets excited. Okay, I need to, apply for this, and there he is, submitting his CV. Now, what we call as the candidate experience microsite is actually again available as a part of the suite today. That it could be an extension of your HR suite itself that can actually be integrated into your website as a microsite. So that's Fahad's experience, right? He's uploaded his CV. Now, there is Julia. She's sitting here looking at all the applications that have come. It's not just Fahad. A lot of people have actually applied for this role. And she's there looking at how do I actually close this position quickly, because that's her goal, isn't it? The objective of that, the recruiter, is to ensure we get to close our positions quickly. So what does she do? She uses what we call as the AI ranking, right? So there is an AI engine that quickly kind of ranks the CVs that's been received, and there it is. So what they're showing on the side, if you see on the side screens, is okay, for this UX designer position, there are these 4 guys who actually got selected based on the AI engine's resume ranking. And there she is. She's shortlisting Fahad, and he's now, coming for the interview, right? So that's very quickly how the whole process is actually kind of seamlessly integrated into the journey. So he comes in. He attends the interview. By the way, the solution does offer ability for you to, kind of link with the Zoom, create a Teams interview, a Gmeet or whatever. Finishes his interview, uploads his docs. I'm not going to go through too much of detail here. I think we know the process pretty well. And that's how the ecosystem is built. So for example, here, there is a process which is, in that organization, they would want to do a background verification. And that's where our partner, for example, Authbridge would come in. And that's how the background verification looks like. Though the name is different, I think it's a error. But then I say, okay, Sandeep is the guy who's actually doing the background verification, not the candidate, sorry. So looking at very quickly who are the candidates for whom background verification is done, a quick idea of whether Fahad has actually kind of cleared that round, and then he comes in. So what do we see here? The candidate experience has been pretty seamless. It's smooth, works on all sides in terms of the organizational side as well as the candidate side. And there he is, Fahad, coming in. And did we see that? Sai? Okay. So he comes in, he actually logs in for onboarding on the first day, and there he is, looking at the welcome letter from the CEO. And you saw a quick video that was coming up, right? So that possibility of the CEO welcoming by a video is also possible today in the system. So we actually have the ability for you to say, okay, hey Fahad, welcome to the organization, wherever you are, and enjoy your journey with us, kind of a thing. So that's very quickly what Fahad has done. And then there's very interestingly, there's this fellow who is working behind, this person who is working behind, right? And she keeps nudging Fahad and says, you know what, you've joined us, but you need to go through some induction, some training sessions. So that's the first nudge. And that's what our nudge engine does. So the nudge engine provides saying, okay, you need to have these sessions. He does the session. For example, it says, okay, you've done this course, great. You've succeeded in going through this course. And then it says, okay, you're 2 days away from finishing your first week in Adrenalin. So these are, again, what we call system-driven nudges, the AI-driven nudges using the nudge engine. And you see a small thing here. It says, share on social media. Yeah, why not? Nowadays, that's what employee experience is all about. I mean, I would want to talk about my experience in my organization with my friends and peers, not only inside, but also outside. And that's Fahad's journey of being a candidate, coming through background verification, joining, onboarding, and there he is now, starting to use the system. Interestingly. Now, interesting linkage, right? Okay, I've completed 7 days. Now, why don't I reward him? Why don't I reward Fahad for his being here? And that's where the seamless ecosystem starts working, and he gets a reward, good news, from the Vantage Circle system. So you see a small video on the side which shows what kind of rewards are possible. I'll pause here a bit, not to distract you. So the possibilities are endless there. So what kind of rewards you want to actually link it with health, link it with fitness, link it with actual fulfillment from Amazon. You can do pretty much whatever you think your organization would want to give as an experience to your employee. And that can be integrated seamlessly inside. And if you look at how the homepage that Saurabh was showing, things I need to know, things I need to do, etc., the nudge engine starts working behind in nudging the employee to actually prompt the employee. It's also called the prompt engine. So it's prompting the employee to actually work on what they think the system is actually kind of making them do. Yes? Interesting? Yes? Okay, great. So we are moving on. And there, of course, we've added some accolades ourselves, by the way. And there are other things. I don't want to go through the details. It's not, like I said, not a demo, but I think actually get a feel for it. I would encourage some of you to actually go. We have, like Smithan announced, I think, we have experience booths outside. I think that you would get a much better feel when you look at it yourself. So that was candidate experience. Now, the candidate, Fahad is now an employee. Now, when you become an employee, till then it's all great. I obviously wanted to get a job. I've got the job in. I've come inside. My first week was good. They all treated me well. Now what happens? Now I get into the routine stuff, right? There's a lot of workforce related admin tasks that I need to do. I have to actually use the system for it. Simple things, it may seem simple things, but then there's, I need to do my normal stuff, apply for leave, fill my timesheets. If I travel, ask for requests, get my requests approved, and the whole host of things that actually come along with that. And that's what we are going to see as the employee experience. So how do I actually make this much more easier? How do I actually make these routine tasks not so much of a pain for an employee? And so we continue our journey with additional characters coming in. So you have Fahad, of course. As of now, he's an happy employee. He's only 7 days into the system. And then you have his reporting manager, and you have Fatima, who's come in. She's also there as the business partner from the HR function, right? And there is a new character that's come in, the co-pilot, and that's Sarah, right? And so the idea here, I think most of you would have kind of guessed, is Sarah is going to take a lot of load off the shoulders of this employee, right? So can I actually use Sarah? So she has come on the side. She's saying, oh, my name is Sarah, what do you want to do? Do you want to do X, Y, Z? So there are very interesting stuff that we have built in there. I'll kind of explain as we go along. But then, we are taking this story further. We have Fahad coming to office one of these days with all his, carpooling buddies. And they say, okay, why don't we take a vacation? And he says, okay, it's a spur of the moment thing, but then it's okay, let me apply for my leave. And he does that, right? And that's what he's doing with Sarah there. So he's quickly checking what his leave balance is, what he's going to do, and then quickly gets a response on the social connect, which is, I'm game. All of us are actually going to go on vacation, and let me check my leave balance. There it is. Okay. So as he's driving the car to the office, I think he's completed his task. Okay, at least some boredom gone, using Sarah. This is, of course, a representation, but then what you saw there is the actual bot functioning, right? What the team is showing you on those two screens is actually the product running in the background. He reaches office, and then obviously he wants to sign into the system to get in. And that's what we have done here for all of us in the UAE. What we have done now is actually integrated with the UAE Pass. And I know this was a discussion, I think, with few customers we had, I think especially with Ahmed last time when I met him. I said, will it not become easier for us if I have a UAE Pass? Can I not just use my UAE Pass to sign in? And that's something that we have brought in. So you have the UAE Pass. You can see on the side, you log into your UAE Pass. So that's the PIN that is, requested for you. That's a user would, typically a UAE Pass would have. You authenticate using your UAE Pass PIN, and you land up on the home page. Now, that's as easy as it gets in terms of how you can log in using a common ID in this region, at least in the UAE. So that's what he does. And then he comes in, of course, there are lots of things that he needs to do. There are lots of other routine tasks. So I'm not going to go into all of them. We know all of that. Most of us here are veterans in this space. So what have we done? We've actually kind of provided help through multiple channels for the employee to work anytime, anywhere on completing his routine tasks, right? And that's what it does. Now, he has come in, he is logged in, right, through using his UAE Pass. One of the simple examples that I just wanted to highlight is, okay, he's on a Teams call with his manager, and she says, you got to actually, go to Singapore, as an example. And there's the request goes through the Teams integration process, and the HRBP kind of generates the, request letter for visa from the system automatically through a templatized process. So that's as simple as that. So of course, there is a lot of work in the back that's happened, but for the employee, the experience is, okay, I didn't have to go through a separate process of asking the HR to do this, do that. I think we can operate all this stuff right from where I am, from inside my team's work itself. So that's another example I wanted to show I kind of picked up a few of these things that I thought would be relevant for the audience here. More specific examples, if you would want to see, of course, like I said, our team will be ready to actually engage with you on those. Some of those, one key point here I wanted to say, of course, a lot of these routine stuff we all know, but the key point here is what is in the bottom, which says multi-channel, right? So whether the employee is coming through the mobile, WhatsApp. So today we have enabled integration with WhatsApp. So we have something called, which is very unique to us, which is called the hashtag approach. So you can just say hashtag something, and that work will be done by the bot behind. So I can just say hashtag leave apply, and say 5th May to 7th May. And it actually applies for leave using the WhatsApp engine. So you want to actually download your payslip, for example. You just say hashtag payslip and say March 23, and you would actually get the document inside the WhatsApp chat itself. So that's the kind of seamless integration that we have done to enable much better experiences for us. So Sara, of course, you can invoke Sara from wherever. You can invoke directly. You can invoke from the web. I think you're seeing that Sara is always by the side. The red icon that you see on the right corner, and this is the Arabic version that they're showing, is Sara. And Sara is also now answering in Arabic. Correct? Guys? Yes. They say yes, okay. So yes. So you have Arabic and English queries that you can ask Sara, and you can just toggle between them, and you're back. So that's pretty seamless way of using the AI assistant, the co-pilot, as we call it, Sara. Teams, of course, Teams. Sara sits on Teams too, and she's there for answering any queries inside Teams. From inside Teams, you need not move out of Teams to do anything. And then, of course, web. So there is a 5-channel approach. We are adding more channels as we go into multiple countries. In some places, maybe some of these channels are not used so much. Some of them are more used. So we will be adding more channels as we go. But then the idea is, can I actually not make the employee keep going, everywhere to go search for what they want to do inside the system for just routine tasks? The second thing you would have noticed is something called frequently used that is being shown on the right? So what the system does is it automatically picks up your usage patterns and starts throwing up those areas, those journeys that as a user, as an employee, he or she is actually doing the most. So it automatically picks up, and there you would have that popping up, as automatically in prompting the user to not, go and search for it in the menu. You just have to go click that capsule, and you are straight into that. We are, of course, adding on something more, which is what is called My Pins, which is work in progress, where the user himself could actually go pin any screen and say, okay, I want it directly accessible from my home page, along with the frequently use something that the system does. The user could also say, no, I want something else, always pinned on my home screen. I can actually go pin it, and it's available for use. So that's how simple we have tried to make the entire set of, if you click that, Sai. So the entire set of routine tasks that happens, whether it's starting from simple attendance leave, timesheets, shifts, claims, asset requests, any kind of requests, and of course the travel desk, which is a big thing in terms of both request management, approvals, and going through the whole claim processes, right? So that's, in sum and substance, I think what the employee experience is all about. How do I actually convert a lot of these routine tasks, make them as simple as possible, provide multiple channel of access to employees, make it more intuitive, look at how much automation and how much of AI can be used to prompt the employee to work on what matters most for them. So I used to say, let us focus on what the employee does not want to focus on, right? So if the employee is actually more busy doing the work he or she does, we need to actually be the assistant behind the scene, helping them actually focus on what they are supposed to be doing and not on the routine tasks that are more administrative in nature. So one of the challenges in HR has always been this, right? Which is, while all these HR tasks and the whole, interactions between the employee and the organization are important, they are also sometimes very dull and drab. And hence, you have this whole thinking, how do I actually, you have these delays in the way the employee actually works, because he says, okay, I have to have access, I have to go there, I have to click this, I have to do this. And most of the time, you end up being a bit more frustrated than what you were earlier. I think that's something that we have recognized, I think with a lot of discussion, inputs from customers like you across the world, and we kind of incorporated all that into how we have done things in the new Max. Okay, I think we are coming to the third one, right? The talent experience. So, employee. Now we're starting to treat the employee as talent. So now Fahad comes in. He's spent some years. He has actually been there for some time now. And there's Abdul, who is his functional manager. We saw Stephanie earlier, who was the reporting manager. And so, very subtly, what we are trying to say is, yeah, you can have multiple managers. That's the way the world is today. Not just matrix, but also multiple managers who actually manage your journey in the organization. So Fahad comes in, his time for performance performance appraisals have come in. He looks at the goals, and that's what you're seeing on the side. Very simple, very intuitive interface. He actually puts in this, he has looked at he enters his achievements for the year. He looks at what they are. You can actually go and act on them very quickly. And it submits it for the, to the manager for a review. So that's simple stuff. Again, while we say simple stuff, I know how much HR managers really struggle to actually get this whole process done, right, over a period of time. And it's, how do we make it more interesting? How do we make it more simple? I think that's what we have attempted. I think when you look at it outside, you can actually go through this and make it more interesting for the employee. And this is now, I was showing earlier, this is again linked back using nudges to the homepage. So I'll show that as to how that works. So Fahad looks at it. Abdul, he's looking at his performance for the period. He adds his ratings, from the same section. He actually has access to something else. So I'll show that. We'll show that separately. But then Abdul has a view of the team. He has a view of the of himself. So if you scroll down a bit, I think you will see. Go up a bit. And there, you see something very interesting. So he says, my performance and my team's performance, right? So the based on the access and based on what who that person is, the user is, the tabs actually get added there. So you have mine, my team, my organization. So if you are a HR person, you would possibly see another tab there that says my organization. So you can look at it at an organization level, you can look at it as a team level, of course, provided you have access. So if you again see the patterns that we are showing right through, when we saw from the recruitment to the employee experience to what we are now seeing as talent experience, all of them look very similar. And that's the secret sauce too. The secret sauce is actually, can I make it as familiar as possible across the entire suite that it really makes it so easy for us, so intuitive for a user, an employee to just understand it. Once I've understood one, I've understood all. I don't have to learn, how to use performance system versus a recruitment system versus a attendance management system, right? So that's the idea. So we have added something else again this year outside of the performance management, which is the normal process of goals and sub goals, and how do you actually track those goals, etc. We've added approach of 360. So we have the ability for example, Fahad here is also not just entering his goals and asking for his appraisal from his manager, but he's also actually decided to get feedback from others. Who are the others? Yeah, we give the ability for that person, the employee. There are two things. Of course, we can nominate or allow the employee to select peers, internal and external. I could actually add a few customers, I could add a few vendors, I could add a few partners who I interact with in my role to actually provide some feedback about what I have done, how I'm doing, what kind of interactions I've had with them, etc. Right? So this, in a lot of organizations, this is looked at as objective way of assessing, right? An unbiased way of assessing an employee. So both, one is of course the typical goals, sub-goals, or the OKR method, which is also available now, but also the 360-degree appraisal, feedback mechanism. So he does this. So Fahad is actually going for both. He's using the 360-degree stuff, and he gets feedback. So if you see the report on the side, what Sai is showing is that's how the actual report comes in, which means, and why do we use this? You use this to actually understand blind spots and hidden strengths, as we call it, right? So I have a certain self-image of myself. What do others think about me? If I have a higher rating than what they think about me, obviously, that's a bit of a blind spot. But if I have a lower rating and others think better of me, then actually that's a hidden strength. So actually, can I use that to design my career inside the organization is what talent management is all about. So while we do this, there is also linkage that is needed, of course, for helping the employee learn, helping the employee progress in the organization through career planning, through succession planning, and stuff like that, right? While this is happening, there is this fellow at the back end who is still working, Sarah, at the nudge engine, right? So he actually starts getting some nudges. As the reports are coming in, he also starts getting nudges about what he has done. And there is, nomination. For example, he's been nominated for a Udemy course, and that's a deep link that can be done from the system and say, okay, these are the learning, these are the courses that are now recommended for you, and that's something pretty useful. So if you see what things I need to do, so the nudges actually start appearing here. Things I need to do, things I need to know, and that's again to not cluttered into too many buckets. It's just a couple of buckets, and yeah, he can download the report directly. There's a nudge that is coming in for him. There's another nudge that says start your course and learn something that's new for your advancement in terms of both in this company as well as your own personal growth. Meanwhile, yeah, Fahad is only one person. What about the organization? So Fatima is now looking at all the reports that have come in from various employees, right? Looks at it, okay, looks at this data, says, okay, maybe there is some bias here, there's some skewing that's happening here. Discusses with the CHRO, she's there. Finalizes parameters. Again, I'm not going to go into the screens here, but if you want to actually do it later, the side. But this is what is possible in the whole talent experience. Providing whatever is needed for that talent to advance in the organization, to learn and plan for his or her career inside, is all built into a seamless experience. So we're coming to the last part of this, which is data. Now, all of this is great, but as an organization, we also need to know the management actually needs to know what to dial in, dial down, dial up, etc. Right? So this is something that we do, and in fact, I personally do in Adrenalin itself, where we have been using this new setup for some time in our own organization, and that's something that I do pretty often. So I look at some of these data insights to derive what actions are to be taken, what strategic actions are to be taken, what tactical actions have to be taken, and so we've kind of blended that data experience also into the entire suite itself. So that's the final journey. Am I too fast? Is it okay? The data experience. Coming to the data experience, we have all seen the simple stuff, which is reports. We have, of course, redesigned it to make it much more easier to access, and created a way of looking at reports simple enough, unlike what's usually done with a huge menu and a list of 500 reports that make no sense in terms of finding what the right one is. We've also included visualization now into this, right? Some of you, I think, might have already seen this a bit. So let me look at who are the people who are the actors involved, or the persons involved in the data experience. So while, of course, all these are also employees, and looks like there I am again, the CXOs also need to know, how do I actually look at data from a different perspective? How do I combine different elements of data? Not just HR data, right? Not just employee-related data. I need to know, how do I actually combine financial data, for example, or any other relevant data that needs to be taken along with my HR data. And that's exactly what we have done here. We've made that, again, pretty simple. What you see as the dashboard here, can include, multiple sources. You can actually, you can even simply upload an Excel and create your own visualization. Again, that's the experience. The data experience that we have, which we will kind of showcase a bit later, on how we do that, is how do I create these many slices and dices that I can use, and how do I access them very easily, very simple, in a simple manner. So if I've taken a very simple story, I'm saying, okay, there is the CHRO presenting something to the CEO, and there is some lagging trends, right, that they are looking at. And they're looking at some headcount info. Yeah, you can minimize, maximize, of course, all the other visually appealing stuff, as well as user-friendly kind of a dashboard. You can create your own dashboard as you go. What we have done is, with our experience of having created dialogues with many customers, we have provided a set of things that we think a CHRO would surely need. And that's something that's bundled along with the suite itself. But then it doesn't restrict anybody to actually only stop with that. You can go ahead, create your own stuff. And so, for example, this CXO says, oh, I want to look at what my demographic is. And okay, looks like out of these, I need to actually look at, so nationality. In some countries, I'm sure in UAE also, that today there is a rule about how much percentage of ethnicity should be there, right, in certain organizations. I think it's 2 out of 100 or something like that in out here. And show, actually, how do I actually keep track of this? How do I drill down and understand where I am? And how do I create some mechanisms that will alert me if something is not going okay. It's something that's something possible today with the kind of analytics that is provided along with this. So another example, of course, I want to quickly go. I want to transfer somebody. I want to look at the skill matrix. So because it's deeply integrated with all your transactions, there is also enough amount of rich data for us that is possible to be presented in a way that the CEOs, the management, can actually take decisions very quickly, pretty smartly, and in line with what their strategy is for their business. So providing business outcomes, I think Saurav mentioned this, right? So the idea is not to be restricting ourselves to only saying, oh, we are just a HRMS application. It's about how do we impact business outcomes by helping you manage the most important aspect of the organization, which is talent. And like I said, in the end, it says, because it's easily integratable into any of your external business applications, whether it's an ERP, whether it's a financial application, whether it's a CRM, whether it's an incentive calculation engine that you've built separately, whatever it is can all be brought into one place. And pretty simple to do, and we'll show something later. But that's essentially what I wanted to very quickly show about data experience. And what are we actually kind of concluding with this part of the session is to kind of build in all this. So the personas that we have talked about, you have our man, Mr. Fahad, who is the employee, and what kind of an experience Fahad had, and what kind of an experience each of these other personas and the people who have been having is all integrated in, and there is the technology element, there is the AI element, the assistant, the co-pilot, as we call it, Sarah, who is actually working round the clock to ensure this experience is not so dull, not so boring, and helps the employee focus on what matters, more to him or her in the organization. So that's essentially what Max, the new Max, is all about for employees. I would actually request all of you to go through the suite, the applications in detail. The experience booths are set up. There are about 4 or 5 of them, including our partners. And you could actually go through this depending on your time. They'll be available. I think they'll be set up right after my session, the second session, by 1 o'clock or so. Right, David? Yeah. And I would request each of you to please take some time out and give us feedback too, and create some dialogues around how we can further improve this experience for all of you. Thank you.